candidly, we decided we're going to start by introducing ourselves. I'm Jana Oliver. I write both adult and young adult fiction. Germane to this panel is two of books that I've written. They're actually a series and a span on a book I've written. The series is The Demon Trapper's Daughter, which is set in Atlanta in about 4 years from now, which is overrun with demons. And 17-year-old Riley Blackthorne has to learn how to do what's actually always been a guy's job. So it's a real big test for her as a teen and as a wanting to prove herself to her dad. Because of that, it is, of course, set in Atlanta. And Bridal Rose, which is actually a southern retelling of maybe set down by Savannah, Georgia.
And I'm Romily Bernard. I wrote the Finally series for her. It's basically like Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, but for a teenage audience. I actually set my series in Decatur City, which is about 30 minutes off of the airport, right with golf carts, use paths, woods, plenty of places you can run around and glide and do whatever you need to do. You're doing it young adult. So, I'm excited to be here. That Bridal Rose was one of my favorite fairy tale retelling of this year, if not in the past 5 or 6 years. And all the beautiful thing is just one big look. It's fantastic. So you guys can come check it out.
My name is Nicki Salcedo. My book is called All Beautiful Things. It is a romantic suspense set in Atlanta. And for locals, there are a few little Easter egg spots that people might recognize in the story, including Decatur, some schools along Ponce de Leon, and some areas downtown where crimes may or may not happen. So we are excited to talk to you about Atlanta, and I would say we'll tell you a little bit about writing in Atlanta that people in Atlanta don't know. So Jana's going to kick us off.
I was going to start with the universal. For those of you who aren't from Atlanta, a lot of times when you read books that are set in Atlanta or South, they automatically assume everybody has lovely southern drawls. Well, now, you go around and talk to most of these folks, and you find they're Yankees. They think that's what it says. Considering that, they say there's about 5.5 million of us in the Atlanta metro area. For some reason, they include Athens. I have no idea. Athens must have paid them well. But to be honest, we're all from someplace else. There are a number of Southerners here. But that's an automatic thing I see in some novels, is that everybody has a draw, and they get it wrong. And I go, no, I'm a Northern. I've been here 17 years, 3 more years. I'm probably legitimately a Georgian. Yay! 3 more years. I'm about 20. It's that. You're Georgian by now. But that's something else. And so you don't see a lot of that. And you tend to hear too many Southern accents, or they assume that we are a multicultural city. And all you have to do is look at Brooklyn. And we are a little United Nations. And you don't see that. Everybody, yeah, exactly.
Wow. I'm sorry, my ADD, I was so just like, yes, I agree. No, it's like, they assume that everyone says y'all, or they think it's all said we, what deliverance. You get that as well. So it just, it is a very diverse city. I mean, it's like, if you think about like the Asian populations, and even in my own books, I haven't properly, addressed any of that either, being in that sort of suburb, climate, whatever you find me in. Unfortunately, it didn't lend itself to that, but you're absolutely right, it is sort of like the United Nations.
I'm glad you mentioned your suburban culture, because a lot of Atlanta or Georgia books are Steel Magnolias or Driving Miss Daisy, but because Atlanta is a metropolitan area surrounded by suburbs, suburban Atlanta is a very distinct culture, and you did bring that to light in terms of the high school and the community and the intricacies of suburban living, which is different. People in New York might not have experience that you would have living in the suburbs.
Explaining golf carts to people who don't understand golf carts. It's no, wait, really?
They gotta get in the copy and go, why do you have people tooling around Houston City in golf carts? Because they do.
I need to send pictures.
The other thing is, when you're writing about Georgia, there's this assumption that all of Georgia's the same, and there's this significant difference between northern Georgia, coastal Georgia, southern Georgia, different sections And that's the other thing I see is they say that it's all sort of homogenous. And I go, no. Because when I was writing about Atlanta, my people in Atlanta were completely different. Well, they still have issues, but my people reacted different than when I wrote Briar Rose, which is set in a little town of about 600 people. And so that team's experience is completely different than Riley's, where she's dealing with a metropolitan city full of females. So it's kind of something that I see that they just assume it's all the same, and I start ticking off things in Atlanta and Georgia books that are wrong, and after I hit about number 5, I go, whatever. Because you gotta get it right. I mean, it's not like you can't go out on Wikipedia and look at Atlanta. Or, God forbid, get on Facebook and email and say, anybody live in Atlanta, I need to ask a question.
I did read a book once where it was supposedly set in Atlanta, and the heroine kept referring to it as Hot Atlanta, and I thought, nobody in Atlanta would actually call it Hot Atlanta. It's something that's how we know you don't live here when you say that. So there are always triggers when someone in Ohio is writing a book set in Atlanta.
Like, okay, one of my other pet peeves is I read books that when so the heroine supposedly goes to Hartsfield Jacksonville International Airport. And you can tell they have never been, they're trying to work out the maps. And I'm going, no. Well, it's walking the state to the state, 5 minutes. You're not going from A to B in 5 minutes. So, and things like that, I kind of oriented about it with facts, right? That's why when I was writing the series, before even either one of the books, right? Because I go out and do reference photos. I remember being down on Alabama and Fulton, there's the old abandoned Manager of the Constitution building, which is a great place for peanuts in. And I'm taking a picture of this almost big kids sitting there looking at this goes, wow. Yeah, wow. I know. But, we also have a large homeless population. We have to allow for that. And I did actually write in my books because their concerns are equally as important as the their knowledge. I always want the cities or the settings to be as much of a character. And you guys did as well. You wanted that setting to be as much of a character as you were asking.
What I really love about the fact that you address that portion of the population is especially for YA readers, like sometimes we can get that rarefied level where there is no violence, boys are always nice, it just, you can always identify the hero because he's the nice boy. But in both of your books, you really address like some of the ugly stuff that's in that, you wouldn't necessarily associate with this alpha racism, but also with our class population, but also just in general, people being hard to people. So I thought that was really good. Well handled.
Okay, now I have a question for you. So, your favorite scene in your book that you think is particularly either Southern or Georgia? If you have a favorite, some quality or a scene, something that happens that you think is unique to the South?
Sure, throw out the difficult question too.
We did not rehearse, so we're just having
this is
a
no
conversation.
rehearsal. Please let me
Okay,
remember.
so I threw in Chick-fil-A and sweet tea in my second book. Yes. And, I don't know how Chick-fil-A is going to feel about that, but considering the first book, but that is something I think I actually got. I'm sure there are going to be some, because the book comes out September 23rd, and so I'm sure people are going to be asking, like, what is this chicken? What?
I have a friend from New York who, when she came, she said, I would like to go to that Chick-fil-A place. And I was thinking, it's Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A.
That's like Helix. Down from the north, there's Helix.
Whoops.
What's your favorite state?
I think it's the fourth book in the Demon Trapper series. I have my heroine and her boyfriend, who's a South Georgia boy. They're going down to the swamp, right, in that area. And the heroine's talking to somebody, and they said, where are you from? She said, Atlanta. And the lady responds, all Yankees up there. And I had somebody down in Macon say that to me, where are you from? I said, Atlanta. She goes, all Yankees up there.
They call it the Macon-Dixon.
Yeah,
seriously, it's Macon-Dixon lines.
So I had to put it in there, because I just kind of, well, in this case, you would be right, because I'm kind of harping back to the Yankee. But yes, I had to put it in the books, because it was just like I made another line.
That's a great one. And I've also heard people say, Atlanta's not the South. So, everywhere around Atlanta is the South, but Atlanta is not the South. I do not agree with that. I think the South is a diaspora just like anything. So there are lots of things that represent the South, including Atlanta, even if it's different than Macon or Savannah or Toronto. It's still the South.
Sure. I mean, not only is it not supposed to be in the South, absolutely.
Or it wouldn't bother.
You could have just detour, guys would have published it and moved on, you know? I think the other thing that's funny is sometimes in the books I'll find people who will use Peachtree Street and not quite understand that there are, last count I went out and looked, 71 streets, roads, lanes, courtyards, whatever, that have Peachtree in them. And they don't quite understand that there are that many. So they go, no. So you get an Atlanta map and then you go, there's Peachtree, there's Peachtree. Okay, so when you're explaining where somebody is, you have to go, I'll just put them on Baker Street, there's only one of them.
Actually, let's check in the audience, so we'll ask you a few questions. Is anyone a native of Atlanta who is in the audience? All right. These young ladies, this young lady here, so 3 people. Shout out where you're from. New York City. Brooklyn. New Jersey.
Everybody from the Northeast is moving
You're
here.
from the place where they laugh a lot.
Where they laugh a lot.
Maine.
That would be Iowa.
Maine.
Maine. Actually, one of my favorite, it's not even a scene, but something I put in the book, my heroine has had a traumatic crime, and so she's mentally off. She is sort of a post-traumatic stress person. And something I wrote in the book is people who know the difference between Peachtree Street and Peachtree Road. Because if you live in Atlanta, you know what that means. It's the same street, but at some point the name changes. So when people come from out of town, it's just Peachtree Street. But if you're at Lenox, it's Peachtree Road, and if you're downtown, it's Peachtree Street. And that's something Atlantans know, those little details about a single street. And that may or may not be crazy. I think it's a little crazy.
I think when they cast 40 some odd names for each other, yeah, you guys are inventive. You can come up with the other thing that I bumped into is when I talked to some of the folks from where I came from, which is Iowa, they're going, well, y'all got Royal Peaks on your street, City Street corner. I go, no, not really. And they said, well, you're all in the Atlanta branch and you all love Margaret Mitchell, which might be a hanging offense, but I'm not a Margaret Mitchell fan.
I have not read Gone with the Wind. I admit that. I'm not against it. I just have not read it.
You know, it's something that you automatically love. So it's sort of like, you know, if you're from Iowa, it's assuming that there are hogs in the streets and there's corn under that. No. So, you know, that's something when you're writing Atlanta, you want to show what Atlanta is. And you guys are both written contemporary, and I've written kind of screwed up Atlanta. How much research did you guys do? Did you go out and walk the streets? Pardon the expression. Did you go out and do the research? It took her a while to get it. I do it. Did you go out and research? Wander on down the streets.
I did do some research for my novel. I did try to predominantly write the story so I wouldn't be bogged down doing research. So I did some of the research after the fact. 2 things. So one is I attended a boot camp, a fitness exercise boot camp that occurs in Piedmont Park at about 5 o'clock in the morning. And it's 4 days a week. So there are 2 scenes in the book that are very specific to me being in Piedmont Park. And there's actually one morning where we met, and it's about a group of 30 people, and you run and do push-ups. And there was one morning where we got to our location where we were going to exercise, and there was a naked body face down in the middle of the park. And so the trainers took us to another location. 2 of the trainers stayed with the body, and another person contacted the police. And the person was having a drug overdose, young white male, and contacted the police ambulance. They came and got him treated, and he survived. But that's the kind of thing where you're like going to boot camp in the morning and you come across what appears to be a dead body. That might just happen in Atlanta. So that's part of the research, just that element of diversity, of crime, and what have you. And I did visit one of the largest homeless shelters in Atlanta just to find out about the homeless population and how that works. That was my research.
I actually, I don't know, I did do a fair amount of research, but I was able to cheat a little bit because my husband actually lived in the city that I studied in, which seemed like a really smart idea at the time, and then I didn't actually realize that I wasn't necessarily studying it like in the best of light. I mean, I think I definitely showed like the works and everything, and here my husband actually, works for that same city, and some of the things that you talk about, police, police corruption is like a big deal that sorry, I should be talking more into this. So police corruption was a big part of all three of the climbing books, and that was kind of awkward when that came out, and it's basically, I'm not pointing a finger specifically at the Nation City Police Department, but more like at police in general for institutionalized racism. Just as a whole, they didn't see it that way. They felt like it was a little bit more like pointing fingers specifically at them. That was awkward. I should have thought that in the front.
It says this is a workout.
I know.
Jana, did you do any research for your book? Yeah, I spent a great deal of time wandering around parts of Atlanta. Probably I shouldn't have been wandering around at odd hours. And, I had a map and all kinds of things. I also went out and, like, for example, in the books I wrote in, there are these parking meters in certain parts of Atlanta that are designed for you to donate to the homeless. And you put coins in them. So I wrote those in, just little things like that. And I wrote in some various places. I have a whole scene, a number of scenes in Oakland Cemetery. If you're not in the area, Oakland Cemetery is a beautiful 1850s garden cemetery with gorgeous mausoleums, a lovely place. I tore it apart with demons because that's what you do in fiction. But I spent a lot of time doing that and just trying to build the city into the story. And so I had some people come up and go, I really love it because when you were on the street, when you were describing what you saw, that was real, which meant there were a whole lot of reference photos that I was tonight with strange people. And luckily my husband's very good about escorting me around. He goes, which shirt alley are we talking about? Let's find out. He's a good sport. Go for it. Do you all have any questions about, do you have a favorite book set in Atlanta or Georgia, or do you have any questions for us?
We need to do writing craft if any of you guys are.
We'll talk. Ask us anything. The gentleman in the back, who may or may not be an author.
I'm trying to think of the name of the book. There's a book out there about how to write romance, and essentially it will. Yeah, I know. Now you know that. And there's actually, if you go out on Amazon and look, there's actually some independently published books on how to write romance, and they go through the different stages, the hero and heroine, or heroine, whoever, how the couple progress through a romance. So if you're doing a romantic thread, I don't tend to write pure romance. I tend to have a romantic thread because I like to blow stuff up and have mysteries and have bodies. Yeah. So you can come and talk to me. But yeah, you can do that. There are.
Is that Betty Grillo? Betty Grillo? She has something out.
I can't remember her name. It's at home. It's on my desk. That's terribly helpful, isn't it? If these guys have an answer, I will see if I can find it on Amazon.
I was going to refer you to Georgia romance writers. I know it's Georgia romance writers, but the thing is we have fantasy authors. Yes, we have writing authors. There's authors. I mean, I would not really consider my stuff particularly romantic. There's a romantic thread that goes through it, but it's primarily a thriller. Really check out some of the groups that are written here around Atlanta. We're very lucky that Georgia romance writers is popular. It's a very, very strong organization in terms of craft, in terms of people willing to help you as well. That's how I got my start. And they've just been wonderful. I would not be published without them. And they accept me even when I do the bodies onto every other page and things like that. So by all means, please come.
They have meetings, monthly meetings, and every meeting, usually there's somebody presenting something related to the craft. Sometimes it's in regard to writing, sometimes in regard to social media, sometimes it's across the board. And I'll say the same thing. I've been in the business longer than these ladies, but Georgia romance writers is one of the reasons. So, and they're very open, very friendly, and we have more and more guys every year. We used to have one token male, and we had 2 or 3, 4 or 5. Hey, so we're going, so now we actually have to remember to say, ladies and gentlemen. And there's other writers' organizations in New York, but if you're looking at, the thing about romance writers across the board is they tend to be a lot more, I don't want to rain on anybody's parade, but they've always been very good with promotion and marketing and that camaraderie. Now, there are other strong writing organizations in Atlanta. Atlanta is incredibly strong because I've been in other areas where they're going, what do you have for a writers' organization? There's like 10 people meeting and none of them are published and nobody can help them. So there's a number of them. We're all Georgia romance writers, and I'm sisters in crime because I like killing people in my books. So there's a number of organizations. So,
and I think we represent the range. So we're all in the same organization, and there's a fantasy book, retelling of a story tale, a YA thriller, a romantic mystery suspense, a historical romance. I mean, if you look in the audience, we represent everything. And a good story, which I'm assuming yours is a great story, will always have a romantic thread. Spy thrillers have a romantic thread. So come to our group and just write the best you can.
other questions?
Do you think about your end first? You do your thriller and you're going through something that you need an answer. So I'm wondering, do you have the answer first and then you kind of develop the story? Or you just keep going, screw that.
Yeah, short of the your end, basically. Oh, I'm sorry. You can tell I'm doing this. So she wanted to know if I know, like, my end when I start writing my thrillers. My editors would love for me to say yes. I don't. In fact, I just finished my third one. Trust me, will be out fall 2015. And actually, one of the guys I didn't know, I got to like first reading through, and I was like, is he good or bad? Is he good or bad? I don't know. It's like I had to actually make a decision. I had dithered about it that long. So unfortunately, no. Like when we were talking earlier about give yourself permission to write crap, which excuse me, but I mean that's basically what it is. My first draft, you could use like a Volkswagen in that block of this. And let's forget about timeline. My timeline is all over the place. So there you go. I mean, I struggle with outlining. I usually write myself into a corner, and then I spend like 3 days like kind of sobbing and petting the walls and like pulling out like carpet fibers because I'm like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get myself out? And then all of a sudden it'll come to me, and I'll be like, oh, okay, and off you go again. I write myself into a corner again. But that works for me. It keeps my pacing tight. It keeps my chapters like quickly at the end. So
She is so lying. Her rough drafts are actually pretty amazing. So, okay, anyway.
That's why she has hardwood floors. Like I've written hardwood. Actually, the truth is, I think I've been writing for, I hate to say this, 16 years now at this point. The longest job I've ever had. It's amazing. And some novels I can see pretty much all the way through. Some I see a beginning and the end. In the middle is the Gobi Desert. I have no freaking clue. So I just go on safari, which means I have to do some rewriting because that first draft is all is crap. That's where I discover things. And as you said, we get farther in. And readers go, wow, I didn't see that coming. And in the back of your mind, the author's going, I didn't see it either until I wrote it.
I was surprised.
Yeah, but you don't tell them. You guys are like, oh, yeah, cool.
I do because I'm not professional.
Yeah.
So the characters take on a life of their own. I had a secondary character who was a detective in an earlier draft. He was very marginal. He was just, a token police officer in a crime story. But he came to life in this way that was unexpected, and I didn't know if he was a good guy or a bad guy. He might not actually be good or bad. He's just kind of a guy. But I like that freedom of just letting the characters and the words lead me down a path. And I think you'll surprise yourself and then surprise readers. If you're planning a plot twist, if you're planning something, your readers will probably see it coming. But if you're part of the journey, it's like, I didn't know he could do that. It's good for you and it's good for the readers.
So to that extent, I have people say, well, I don't know the whole story. If you don't know the whole story, you're probably not going to be able to, you you're better off probably not knowing, because then you'll be more spontaneous. It depends, because I have friends who have to outline every single chapter, every single scene. This is another time I pull out a cross in holy water, because they scare me, because I can't do that.
But it can work for that.
It works for them. And usually after I get to the first draft, that's when I get really, really fussy and start laying out the scenes, because I feel what the story is, and I go, I don't even see here. Because I had like 5 scenes with the heroine. I gotta show what the hero's doing right now. Is he sitting around and smoking a cigarette going, I'm not going to so I lay it out at that point, so I know. But it screws me up if I plot it too much ahead of time. It depends on what works for you. And bottom line, there's no one way. There's about 50 million.
How did you decide now was the time to write? What was it?
So how did we decide now, or 16 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 6 years ago, to start writing?
Probably one morning I woke up. My husband says that the mothership came back down for me, unscrewed my brain, and flipped this little switch in my head, and all of a sudden I had all these stories I had to tell. And so I just started writing. I didn't know what I was doing. And I wrote for about 3 years, and at that point, back in 2001, self-publishing was a no-no. I did it anyway, so I'm stubborn. I'm not even from Georgia. I'm not stubborn. But I had all the stories I had to do it, and I really quickly realized that I was a really, really good storyteller. I could tell an amazing story, but my mechanics kind of sucked. And that's what Georgia romance writers are particularly for me, is they taught me the craft. Because I was automatically a storyteller, I just didn't know how to do it well. And so it was just one day, flip switch. Wow, I can write this story. And then it just kept going and kept going and kept going.
For me, I was pretty much always just kind of wired this way. I didn't luck out and get a finance brain or like an accounting brain or anything like that. So I was in 2nd grade when I wrote and illustrated my first book, and it was about a witch. And for those of you who know me, that's really unsurprising. So, but then I spent probably a really long time, decades probably, trying to be like, no, I'm not a writer. Because I didn't know any English writers. I mean, nobody makes, nobody's a writer. You don't do that. It's like coming home and telling your parents, hey, Daddy, I want to be an actress. With my background, that just wasn't something that you came home and told your parents what you wanted them to strike out. And but finally, it was just, I just couldn't really deny it any longer. Which is to say that I went through 4 books before I finally was published on my 5th. Figuring out like where your voice belongs and things like that is a major part of your journey. But pretty much right now is the right time to start. Yesterday was a good time to start.
There is no great time. Every time is a great time.